Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswa, Tatsavitra Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Astoma Sadgamya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Mritam Gamya. ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 ओम योग दर्शन सेकंड चैप्टर साधना पाद verse number 23. That's where we ended our class last week, and we learned about three terms: Swashakti, Swami Shakti, and Swarup. And what does really hold us back to know all this? Even though that power is inside us, so what is preventing us from cultivating the courage? What is preventing us to surrender to this higher power, which we call Ishwar? That is the subject of next verse. Verse number 24. Tasya hetu avidya. Tasya means of that, hetu means cause, avidya is the ignorance. So the cause of that is ignorance, avidya. So this is the ultimate analysis of our mind, that why our mind does not let us surrender to God. Feel that Shakti, feel that luminosity. It is the avidya. God has given us a self-luminous mind. There is a self-revealing light in there. With the help of that light, we can comprehend our Swarup, essential nature. And also the nature of this objective world also. But we can't do it. We just get distracted. We don't know what this power which is inherent in us is. So this avidya or ignorance is the subtlest and the most potent of all our sanskars. This is the sanskar of our perverted understanding. And that is the root cause of all the afflictions. And asmita comes from there. Asmita is central to this perverted understanding. The wrong sense of I amness. It has developed so big in us, me and mine. We spend our entire lives complying with the demands of me and mine. We are constantly engaged in defending our self-identity based upon this asmita. And we feel very happy when we succeed in achieving the object of our desires. And when we don't achieve it, when we fail, we get very distressed also. So we are happy when we succeed in getting rid of what we dislike, and unhappy when we fail. And we've been doing it not just only this life, countless lives. So this is all avidya. So if avidya is such a big problem. It's very important for us students to analyze avidya, because such a destructive effect of avidya is there. So it's very crucial to finding how to remove it. But in order to remove it, we got to know what it is. Today we are going to talk about three main categories of avidya. Rishi Patanjali didn't talk about it, but in our other scriptures, and especially in the Sankhya philosophy, it's given in detail. And Sankhya philosophy is paired with the yogic philosophy. You remember those six philosophies? So Sankhya and Yoga, they go hand in hand. So it's good to know what those three main categories of avidya is. The first one is called disempowerment of our mind and senses. Ekadash Indriya Vad. Vad. And the second one is disempowerment of our inner sense of fulfillment. And the third one is disempowerment of powers unique to humans. So these are the three main categories we are going to discuss today to understand our own ignorance. So the first category of this powerlessness is injury of the 11 senses. 11 senses are the mind, 5 senses of cognition, and the 5 senses of action. So Gyanendriya, Karamendriya, and our mana. With the murder of the pristine mind, our power of discernment is significantly eroded. Our self-understanding becomes dim, and it's full of doubts. We lose a significant measure of trust and confidence in ourselves and also in the objective world. What is happening around us? We are no longer certain about our relationship with inner and outer reality. This is what's called disempowerment or vad. So disconnected from our source, we have neither the clarity nor the strength to face our sanskars. Anything we know about ourselves and the subtle tendencies of our mind is contaminated with doubt. Constantly we question ourselves. And in this atmosphere, we employ the mind to think, comprehend, decide, and act. And that mind is not ready or powerful enough to do that. Because our mind is plagued with doubt. Then we look towards others to validate our thoughts and decisions. Do we fit in? Our mind now has only a limited capacity to illumine the brooding which is going through. It cannot recognize all of it or any of it. And it works very hard to string together a series of cognitions. Wants to establish a relationship between those cognitions, but cannot arrive at a conclusion. because its luminosity is contaminated and fragmented by countless sanskars. And the chain of cognitions is also dimly lit and fragmented. So, on one hand, we know that mind is Devata, but that light is not shining due to these sanskars. And as a result, our memory is significantly weakened. Weaker the memory, harder it is to recall our experiences and even learn from them. By retrieving the experiences of the past stored in its own depths, mind uses the sense organs to gain certain power. So, in other words, the mind imparts its 5 distinct powers of cognition: smelling, tasting, seeing, touching, and hearing to the corresponding organs. And mind imparts the 5 distinct powers of action: grasping, moving, speaking, procreating, and eliminating through different limbs and organs. The injury to the mind automatically affects the functions of our senses, because the mind is the master of our senses. So the dullness of our mind leads to a dulling of the senses. And experiences which come by those dull senses are not fulfilling. So they lead neither to fulfillment nor to freedom. So that's how we have lost the power. We are not using these senses properly. We are not keeping them sharp. We are not keeping them clean. And we don't pay much attention to this mind of ours, which is a jyoti given to us, which is a devata inside us. So that's why this rishis, they called this avidya. And this is a ekadash indriya vadha. And who's responsible for it? We are at the individual level. That's why the whole sadhana, yogic sadhana, is about what? Keep the senses alert. Keep them clean. Keep this mind clear, focused, clean. The second category of disempowerment is called tushti. Tushti means satisfaction. When we say disempowerment, that means a deluded sense of satisfaction. So when we are deluded, of course, it becomes a problem. And that's why it's avidya. There are 9 tushtis. Prakriti tushti, upadan tushti, kal tushti, bhagya tushti, arjan tushti, rakshan tushti, kashaya tushti, atripti tushti, and uprati tushti. Altogether 9 of them. Let me repeat again. Prakriti, upadan, kal, bhagya, arjan, rakshan, kashaya, atripti, and uprati. The first 4 belong to the internal realm. and the last 5 to the external realm. The deluded internal satisfactions are extremely subtle. They cripple our ability to broaden the scope of our consciousness and force us to explore our grandeur solely within the confines of our disempowerment. Let's briefly look at them because we want to understand this avidya at a deeper level. The first deluded internal satisfaction, I said it's Prakriti Tushti. Our belief that we know Prakriti, because we know Prakriti is the building blocks of our body, mind, senses, the whole objective world. Prakriti. Blinded by this deluded belief, we become rigid in our opinions. As a philosopher or as a scientist, we refuse to believe that the truth is more encompassing than our religions, our philosophical ideas, our scientific explorations, our metaphysical theories, discoveries, or even a combination of that. This misplaced belief is a symptom of our mental and intellectual disempowerment. A yogi under the influence of Prakriti Tushti believes that because of he has studied and understood the difference between Purush and Prakriti, he is no longer in the bondage, feels that he is free. A scientist under the influence of Prakriti Tushti believes that because he has studied and understood the relationship between genes and diseases, he can conquer the diseases. So Prakriti Tushti is a unique form of avidya. It blocks our vision of the infinite possibilities inherent to Prakriti. We forget that how powerful this Prakriti is. Because our mind is shrouded by this veil of ignorance. We just come up with this concept of the highest reality and we manufacture a relationship with it. That's why different isms, they have their own concept of higher reality. And they think that this is it. They all aspire to experience higher reality in their own unique way. This engenders the idea of the numberless gods and goddesses and sows the seeds of duality and difference, thinking that my God is better than your God. So like a little knowledge and thinking I know it all. Prakriti Tushti. Prakriti Tushti evolves into Upadhan Tushti. So satisfaction associated with the external trappings of spirituality, Upadhan. Satisfaction derived from receiving a spiritual name or a title, a special garment, or mala, rosary, are examples of the Upadhan Tushti. We know acquiring a peaceful, focused mind is a personal pursuit. No one can purify our mind. No one can turn it into the center of our consciousness. But under the influence of avidya, we expect someone or something outside us to give us salvation. This expectation is a symptom of a disempowered mind. Upadan tushti. The third deluded internal satisfaction is kal tushti. Kal means time. So under the influence of this tushti, we fall into the grip of procrastination. Tamsikta. We tell ourselves that time is a significant factor in any process of maturity. When I get old, I'll do it. Just as with time we become an adult, with time we will gain inner wisdom, we think. We begin our quest half-heartedly, and when we do not succeed, we console ourselves by saying the time was not right. Attributing our success and failure to time, especially in relation to our spiritual journey, is a symptom of a disempowered mind, a weaker mind. And that is called Kal Tushti. The fourth and the final deluded internal satisfaction is Bhagya Tushti, reliance on fate. We do not know what fate is, how fate walks into our life, and who governs and guides the forces of fate. We know that a seed sprouts only when we plant it and grows only when we tend it, but even so, we hope our inner growth will happen magically. If I am destined to be enlightened, God will arrange circumstances for enlightenment to dawn. We just put all that power on God, that God will take care of it. So this idea is a symptom of a disempowered mind. Bhagya Tushti. So Bhagya is in our hands. We are supposed to work on it. And the 5 external tushtis, Arjan, Rakshan, Kshay, Atripti, and Uprati, are also self-fulfilling tendencies that mind uses to avoid engagement in worldly matters. The deep-rooted sanskar of inaction convinces the mind to entertain thoughts like earning money and acquiring worldly resources causes pain. I'm happy with what I have. Arjan. Protecting what we have causes pain. I'm happy with what I lose and with whatever remains. Rakshan. Following the law of nature, everything is subject to decay and destruction. I have no concern with what is preserved and what is destroyed. Kashay Tushti. Worldly objects and achievements are never enough. Therefore, I do not care what I have and what I lack. Atripti Tushti. The more involved we are in worldly affairs, the greater the sorrow. Therefore, I distance myself from the world. So, disconnected from its own inner brilliance, the mind cunningly convinces us there is no point in acquiring worldly resources and protecting them. It also convinces us that there is no point in being vigilant about preserving the resources we have acquired. It convinces us that active engagement in worldly endeavors is a source of disappointment, atripti. And in order to find true fulfillment and freedom, we must disengage from worldly activities. Uprati. So you can see that under the influence of these 9 forms of pseudo satisfaction, that's what it's called. We commit ourselves to inertia and become passive, fatalistic, and there is even more devastating effect on our evolution. We are supposed to be vigilant. We are supposed to be active. We are supposed to do our duties, follow our dharma. But because of these pseudo satisfactions, we don't. And the third category is of these avidya, according to Sankhya philosophy, the mental disempowerment that damages our siddhis, the powers and privileges unique to humans. So, what are those siddhis? What are those powers God has given it to us? UH, UHA, शब्द, अध्ययन, दुख विघाता त्रय, सुहृत प्राप्ति, and दान. A weaker mind does not understand this. Let's understand this. Means knowledge without doubt. Clear understanding, intuitive knowledge, that's called This is the power given to our mind actually, that we can understand things clearly. You can call it a power of revelation. This is the fundamental force behind all human discoveries. If a few people can use this, that means we all can use it, this power. And it has its source in Mahat Tattva, the pure, pristine manifestation of Ishwar's Prakriti. And it is infinite. It's not limited. It's not just for few people. It's infinite in nature. In our day-to-day life, it manifests in the form of discerning power. This is also the force behind our memory. What makes us remember our name every morning? What makes us remember what we did 10 years ago? As humans, we have the privilege of harnessing this Shakti and retracing our way back to the primordial being, Ishwar. So this Shakti we all have as human beings, but we got to direct it towards the right source. The second one I told you, Shabd. Shabd means the word. We are born with the capacity to give a form to sound, assign meaning to each segment of sound. We even have the power to store both sound and its meaning in our memory. Somebody talks about there's an apple. Right away we know. How does it look like? What is the shape? That is the power given to us. We have the capacity to communicate both sound and its meaning to others. What a great gift Ishwar has given to us. Shabd. We also have the capacity to give a visual form to each segment of sound and the meaning associated with it. This unique capacity has enabled us to develop written languages and preserve a vast range of memories pertaining to human experiences. We have the scriptures in different languages also. All of that is preserved, and this power has been given to us by that Almighty. It's called a Shabd. The third power which we have is called Adhyan. Adhyan means to study, analyze, comprehend. We have the capacity to study, analyze, and comprehend an abstract idea, whether it is spoken, written, or even implied. We even have the capacity to decipher our own and others' intentions and predict the causes as well as the far-reaching effects of these intentions. Adhyan. We should use this power also. Oh, also, Shabd also, Adhyan also. The next one is Dukha Vighata Traya. That means elimination of threefold sorrow. What are the threefolds? Physical, mental, and spiritual. We are born with the capacity to understand both the cause and the cure of all our physical, mental, and spiritual diseases. We have the capacity to discover the tools and means to overcome our sorrow. So this also a power given to our mind. The next one is Suharit Prapati. Cultivating a good heart. Suharit. Su means good, Hrid means heart. Cultivating a good heart. Finding friends. Our body, mind, and senses are designed to carry an enormous range of feelings and the sanskars associated with them. And our power of discernment and intuitive wisdom helps us to distinguish good thoughts and feelings from the bad ones and cultivate the good ones further to enrich the virtues of our heart. The same capacity enables us to see beyond the boundaries of our little world and share our goodness with others. This capacity motivates us to pass our achievement onto the future generations. And the last category of our innate siddhi is dan, the ability to give. We have both the wisdom and the courage to share what lawfully belongs to us with others. We are designed to experience the joy of giving. This joy is the architect of human civilization. And it's characterized by self-sacrifice and selflessness, giving without expecting. Dan. These extraordinary powers distinguish us from all other species. Because of these powers, we are able to see the impediments to our quest far in advance and prepare ourselves to remove them long before they manifest. We can see what's happening. Use these powers. These powers are given to us for a purpose. Because of these powers, we are able to comprehend the invisible forces of nature and harness them to improve the quality of our life. But with the decline of our inner luminosity, we lose these powers to a significant degree. It's almost like there's a brightness coming from the bulb, but we just put a dark cloth on top of it, or we dirty it. That's what we have done to our mind. Mind, which is so luminous, so powerful, we have just covered it up with all those sanskars. So according to Rishi Patanjali, nothing is more important than the removal of avidya. So that's why I wanted to go into the detail of what avidya is. So in summary, embracing avidya results in the birth of our mind. I'm talking about our current mind. Under the influence of avidya, the mind rejects its connection with Mahat Tattva, the infinite pool of intelligence and creativity. Because this connection is severed. Getting rid of our mind and replacing it with a pure and pristine self-luminous mind is the goal of yoga sadhana. According to the previous sutra, this happens when we allow our mind to unite with the forces intrinsic to the inner beings. That is the easier way to do it. It's almost like if a jug is full of dirty water, you cannot pick up the jug. How to clean it? Keep on pouring clean water into it. All that filth, all the dirt will flow out. The same thing Rishi Patanjali is telling us. Keep filling this mind with the thoughts and the names of Ishwar. And as soon as our mind faces the luminosity of Ishwar, what happens to avidya? The ignorance, it melts away. And what is left behind? Buddhi Sattva, the pure essence of Ishwar's inner luminosity. The self-luminous field becomes the locus of our self-awareness. And this realization is called Swarup Uplabdhi. Swarup, your own, you will know. And we'll see how Rishi Patanjali talks about it in verse number 23. Swarup Uplabdhi in chapter 3. And when we are firmly established in this realization, he calls it a Swarupa Pratishtha. That we'll see in the 4th chapter. So that's why it is so important to do this sadhana and at the same time to understand what this sadhana is all about. Sadhana is about removing this ignorance, removing this avidya, because that is the root cause of it. Only then we'll reach to that Savarup Upalabdhi. We are that, but we have forgotten who are we. We just identify ourselves with the something which we are not. So the process leading to self-realization is simple, actually. Because sometimes when we hear all these big words, we think that is so difficult. How I'm going to reach there? It's very simple. Surrender our mind to Ishvara. That's all. Surrender. Surrendering our messy mind, because it is a messy mind which has all kinds of flaws in it. Surrender the messy mind and receive a fresh, self-luminous mind. To me, I think it sounds like an excellent bargain. Giving something dirty wholeheartedly and getting something beautiful in return. This is what these rishis are promising to us. But the problem is that we just think that it is our own and we don't know what can happen. We just don't want to let go of this messy mind. On the other hand, we want to just make this mind messier than even before. Don't be reluctant to offer this messy mind. How to overcome this reluctance? And acquire a mind fit for unveiling our essential nature? Rishi Patanjali is talking about that in the next sutra. These rishis, they understand what our reluctance is. Why we haven't done it. Even though it is so simple, but we haven't done it. So that's why in the next verse, we'll look at it next week. He says, Tad abhavat sanyog. Abhava hanam tad drishah kavalyam. From the absence of that avidya comes the absence of mingling of consciousness with our mind. That is freedom, the absolute state of the power of seeing. Because when we know that what will happen by doing something which is so profound, then it becomes easier to do it. So he's telling us, don't be reluctant. Okay, so in today's verse, we learned the details about the avidya. Not just one term. There's several ways you understood it. Then introspection we have to do. In which way I am ignorant? What is holding me back? Where the darkness is in my mind. But wherever it is, he says, if you just drop it at the feet of the God, wholeheartedly though, without expecting anything in return, this will become clean. Avidya will be removed. This is the surety these great rishis are giving it to us. But again, we have to surrender wholeheartedly. So we'll start with next week's class with verse number 25. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.
हर्ष जी